This is Dean Brooks, and this is my very first screencast. I'm doing this for my English 457 electronic communication class, the blog of which you can see I've pulled up here. And for our week 5 assignment, we had to discuss visual storytelling, which I'm pretty excited to get to talk about. Now, for this class, we first had to set up a blog, which I've done here with my deanmbrooks.wordpress.com website. And the post I did 2 weeks ago for an assignment then was my experience with the Red Cross. And I actually had some success with this post. It was retweeted by some local Red Cross chapters. And just because I'm someone who likes to donate to the Red Cross, and I've been donating for a while, I decided to stick with the Red Cross theme for this particular assignment for visual storytelling. So with that in mind, let's go first to this page here. And the actual title of this is 11 YouTube Best Practices for Nonprofits. And this comes from Chapter 5 of Heather Mansfield's Social Media for Social Good, which came out in 2012. And to begin, there's a few questions that were assigned for the beginning of this particular task, such as, what do still and video images do best? Now, I have to be honest, I'm not too pro-image when it comes to the internet. I have to kind of overcome a bias here against images, because when I think back to many of the types of blogs and websites that I like to read, I've often found if they're too heavy on visuals or if they have too many photographs, it becomes distracting and it becomes something that just pulls away from the actual content. I'm somebody who, if I find something interesting online, I actually like to go and just and read it and not have to deal with video, not have to deal with any type of illustrations or or visuals or whatever. It's one reason why one of my favorite social media sites is Reddit, because there are no images on there. It's all strictly text. It's very basic. And most of the commentators stay pretty focused on the community and the types of postings that are there. So in doing this, I kind of have to overcome my own bias when it comes to visuals. And what I've learned in looking at the Red Cross's social media sites is that they use visuals pretty well and pretty strongly to get their message. And it's made me realize that if you're going to use images and video for your nonprofit, the first thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that you're using them in such a way that they're communicating your mission and your nonprofit's ethos. Now that seems kind of like an easy thing to do, but the reality is there's a lot of distraction on the internet. There's a lot of memes and there's a lot of ridiculous images and so forth that you can use. And so the first thing you want to do that I think is important is to stay focused on your nonprofit's core message and who you are, and being able to communicate that through the visuals. And we'll get into how the Red Cross does that, which they do exceptionally well. The second question is, what organizations are deploying visuals effectively, and what are they doing? So again, we'll go back to the Red Cross. Another reason I picked them is because of the fact that their social media presence is so strong and so professional. So I kind of wanted to look at a company, an organization that does it right, that does it the best, and has a lot of widespread influence. The Red Cross is really something that it's sort of like a model to follow if you're creating a nonprofit. Although every nonprofit is going to be different and do things in their own way. It's really going to come down to what's going to work for your particular nonprofit. But in any event, these are the 11 best practices. I've listed them out here, and we'll return to this as we go through the video. But I've written all 11 of them out, and we'll just kind of go through, and it'll be like a checklist, and we'll see what the Red Cross does. So we'll X out of here at first. Now, there's actually not an American Red Cross office here in Fargo or in North Dakota. They're not located in the North Dakota region. They're in Minnesota, they're in South Dakota, they're in Wisconsin, but they don't actually have like a donation center here in Fargo. And I couldn't find any social media sites like Twitter that were dedicated solely for Fargo. But these are the different sites that I have joined that I follow, and they actually all follow me as well due to the article that I wrote here. And one thing that you'll notice with this is consistency. So let's go back to the first checklist here. Use your nonprofit's avatar as your profile picture. And the Red Cross does this exceptionally well. If you look at Red Cross Minnesota, if you go to Red Cross Southwest, serving Oklahoma and Texas and those areas, if you look at the North Central areas in Minnesota, if you look at the actual website on the redcrossblood.org website for like North Central up here, for instance, they all use the same logo. They all use the same design. If you go to YouTube, it's the same Red Cross white background. If you go to the redcross.org website, it's all very much the same. It's all white, red, very consistent, even on their Instagram here. And sometimes they do something different, like this is a patch of some kind. But for the most part, it's all very consistent. So for that step one, I would say they do that exceptionally well. And that leads us into number two. Use the colors of your avatar to design your channel. And again, red and white are the common theme here. They do that in the different local chapters, Red Cross Minnesota and these others. I also like the way they use different banners up top there. There's always a focus on people, the types of people that they're helping. But also, I really like how they stay on message with urgent need for all blood types. They create this sort of, like you're making a critical impact if you're a part of this nonprofit, and that there's an ongoing critical need for all different types of blood types. I feel like the Red Cross is really good at getting that message out and communicating a constant state of need, but they kind of do it in a way that's it's not annoying, it's not really in your face, it's just kind of part of their identity. And I really like that. But again, red and white are common themes in just about all of their sites here, which makes it very consistent. And again, you have really nice photographs. I'll talk about photographs a little bit more, but one thing I do like is how all of their photographs look like they're professionally done, even though I think it's clear some of them might have been taken by amateur photographers or people that were on the scene. The actual images that they choose, though, are always very well done. They're very professional. There's none that are blurry. And a lot of them will feature images like this where it's a disaster site or there's some type of an emergency that's going on. And they're meant to obviously evoke some type of an emotional response out of you. So I think that's very effective to do for a nonprofit, and it's part of the reason why the Red Cross has been so successful. But while we're talking about images, I feel like their Instagram site uses these images very effectively. They have a mix, though, between static images and video. Of course, on Instagram, Instagram isn't like YouTube where like you can control where the video starts and stops. The videos on here are meant to be short and they just communicate one thing. Sometimes they're introducing a person who's been affected by the Red Cross, or they're showing something humorous. For instance, this particular one here that I'm pointing at talks about the flu and how to deal with different precautionary measures, washing your hands and antimicrobial soap and so forth. And it's a humorous video. But there's also pictures of different people across the world. They also delve into the different history of the Red Cross, the people that are helping in different parts of the world currently. I also like how they have these statistical related images like this. Only 7% of people in the USA have type O negative blood. It's just interesting. It just makes it for a very informative visit when you look at all of this, so that you're not just getting one type of feed or one type of message all the time. It really delivers everything across a spectrum. There's all different kinds of people. There's different types of messages. It just makes it for a more varied and interesting visitation experience, their Instagram page. So I really do like that. So returning back to our checklist, I think number one and number two, Red Cross does exceptionally well. Number three, limit the descriptions of your channel to your mission statement or one paragraph. And Red Cross does that pretty well. Also, if you look at here, it's one sentence. In the other different Twitter profile pages, again, that's one sentence. And really all it does is it tells you who they are, who they serve, and where they serve. And it's actually a lot of information condensed into a pretty brief sentence there. But it gets everything across that you need to understand. It doesn't bog you down. It doesn't inundate you with information you don't need. It just shows you what you need to know. And it does that pretty much across the board. If you go to the actual website, though, you will get more information as well. You'll get like donor stories. You get different news updates and everything. This is sort of like a nexus, this particular portal, for all of their different social media and so forth. And of course, I mean, the purpose of the actual website is to help you find a blood drive, help you find a place where you can actually go and donate blood if that's something that you want to do. So I feel like the actual portal for the website itself, redcrossblood.org, is pretty well handled as well. And on their YouTube site, again, it's basically two sentences. It tells you who they are, but most importantly, it tells you how much they depend on you. Red Cross is a very you-centric nonprofit. They never lose sight of the fact that it's you, meaning you and me and volunteers and so forth, that are so vital to their organization. And that's something that I deeply appreciate as somebody who donates blood on a regular basis and sometimes drives long distances to do so. That's something that I really, really enjoy. Their personal website, though, is also very effective and very cleanly laid out. And again, just reinforces their message that blood donations are constantly needed. All the different sections are very clear and easy to follow. And of course, you can find all of their social media on the bottom there. So let's get back to our checklist, and we've gotten up to 1, 2, and 3 here. And number 4, maximize your YouTube search engine optimization using channel tags and video titles. I think the Red Cross does a good job here. We're actually going to look at the YouTube site primarily. If you look at all of their titles here, I think their titles are pretty effective for the most part. Some of them, not all of them, get a lot of views. Some of them are really just updates, but I also like this one, 5 Things I Learned at School Today. It's kind of clickbaity without not really being clickbait, or at least not succumbing to the levels of like BuzzFeed or those other websites that just depend on page views to survive. In the book, Social Media for Social Good, this is actually the last step. They have, they say it's important to have a video that's like a thank you video at the end. And so Red Cross has that here. They've got a 2017 A Year in Review video, which helps just sum up everything that happened. What I also notice is some of their videos are almost like movies in a way. They're not just informational. They don't just show you what the Red Cross is all about and what it's doing and who it helps. There's the production quality here is pretty good. So if we go to a playlist, it's also very well organized. And as you can see, they've got everything categorized from preparedness to more specific disasters like this typhoon, the Nepal earthquake of 2015. And you can just click on any one of them and go and check out the different videos that are in there and the different people that were affected and the staff and the volunteers and so forth and all the different stories that went on. There's just tons of content here that you can go through. Let me see. If you go to the channel, they don't have anything under channels here or community per se, but they do have related channels, which I believe is another step in this. Yes, enable channel. Well, enable channel and video comments, we'll get to that in a second, but they do display things like subscribers and friends. You can go on here and you can check out. Every one is localized. So you have different types of Red Crosses. You've got the Canadian, international, Australian, British, and so forth that you can go to. It's not just one particular site. Again, on the channels here, it doesn't feature any other channels. It stays pretty well focused on just the Red Cross and maintaining that consistency. So we'll go back to videos for now, and we can go to most of their videos, as I noticed, didn't have a lot of views, but there were some that were more popular than others. So let's see. There's a couple like this. Oh no, this one here, A Mother's Promise here is like a mini movie. It's only 33 seconds long. Great production value. But they have those videos in addition to the different informational ones as well. So again, sort of like their Instagram, they have a good cross-section of different types of videos. There's informational ones. There's ones that are doing a profile of people. There's sort of like, I guess what you might call like mini movie infomercial types, like this one here, A Mother's Promise. And of course, all of them communicate who they are, what they're doing, and where they're doing it. They also have some really good safety tip and community awareness videos, such as this 1 2 Go, which is their most popular one at 3.7 million views. So based on that, I would say their YouTube SEO and channel tags and video titles are pretty effective overall. I mean, they get the job done. They're not really meant to be clickbaity things that are meant to become viral, but they do communicate the nonprofit's message and discussing what the Red Cross is all about and communicating everything that the people there are doing and the types of people that they're helping. They do enable channel and video comments. I'm not going to go there just because I actually, even on their #1 video, the one that had 3.7 million views, I noticed that there were only like 1 or 2 comments on there. Now, they don't have comments disabled on their videos, but I'm wondering if they might have very stringent editorial standards for commenting. They probably don't want, I mean, even if comments are positive, they probably don't want ones that are just spreading memes or just there to be humorous or something. And I'm not a fan of YouTube comments whatsoever. In fact, I don't think I've ever actually made one myself. But 99% of the comments I see are pretty much unnecessary. And I think Red Cross has done a good job of picking up on that. And they've just, and again, I'm not sure if this is what they've done or maybe it's just happenstance that nobody really comments on their videos, but they've just eliminated a lot of comments. And it just contributes to a very clean look overall that doesn't distract from their videos. I don't know about you, but sometimes I can even have a great, I can find a really good video and I have to be careful not to scroll down because the comments just like will usually ruin your day. Even if it's a video you really like, most comments are on YouTube are not worth looking at. So kudos to the Red Cross for not even allowing that stuff in the door. And again, they do display different subscribers and friends and other people that are related to the Red Cross that their subscribers and their followers and their volunteers might be interested in. I think they do a pretty good job of casting that net and pulling everybody in to be associated with the Red Cross. This the send friend request weekly. I'm not sure about that. I don't work for Red Cross. I don't know anybody who works there. I don't know if this is something that they actively do. They probably don't have to do it as much now because they are, again, such a well-known brand and such a well-known nonprofit. They probably get enough friend requests as it is. So there's probably not much they have to do on this level. But again, I don't work for the organization. I'm not sure what they do on that end. And they do, I noticed they subscribe to channels created by funders and partners. There is an awareness there. And for instance, on my own, when I posted my article, they retweeted that and they did a shout out to that as well. So they are aware of what other people in the community are doing, and they're very active and they're interactive. Number 9, where it says sign up for YouTube's nonprofit program. Again, I don't know if they've done that. They probably have. I'm sure they've done everything that they've needed to do to get their message out that they should be doing as a nonprofit. I highly doubt Red Cross would not do that step. Number 10, integrate your videos into your website, blog, social networking communities, and mobile campaigns. And the Red Cross does that, of course. And I showed this earlier. If we go to the North Central portal on the redcrossblood.org site, they do have, for instance, they've got the like button there for Facebook, of course. They've got Google Maps, so you can find the different blood drives, or if you're going to a particular donation center, you can find it pretty easily. They've got news coming in. They've got their latest tweets. And they've got all kinds of informational articles as well. I will say this thing right here could be made to be bigger, I think, because I know oftentimes when I've donated in the past, I will look for a Red Cross office, not by going to the Red Cross website, but by just typing it into Google. So for instance, when I've taken road trips to Denver, Colorado in years past, and I had the opportunity, I had some time, and I thought to myself, well, maybe I'll donate blood today since I'm down here. I just typed in, Red Cross donation office, Boulder, Colorado, because that's where I was staying at the time. And unfortunately, no office came up because I actually don't have a presence in the Colorado area, which I was pretty disappointed about when I first found that out. But it does show that the landing pages for those Google searches are sites like this. They are portal sites like this. So if you're on mobile or if you're on your laptop in a Starbucks or something like that, this needs to be made bigger, I think, so that you're just more aware of that social media presence that they have going on. And again, it's a small nitpick I have, but I think it could definitely be made to be bigger. If you go to, for instance, like even if you go to the bottom where you have these are really small. Now, I will say I don't like it when websites throw huge blocks at you, asking you to join Facebook or join Twitter or whatever. So I do appreciate the Red Cross's minimalism in this. But I do think that they could stand to make those icons a little bit bigger. This is the actual redcross.org website, and there's really nothing on here that communicates their social media presence until you get to the bottom, and that's really, really small. And again, for a nonprofit like this, most people are going to be aware that there are social media sites like Twitter and Facebook for it. It's not like people don't know that they're out there, but if you're scrolling on your smartphone, or again, if you're pressed for time, you don't want to have to waste any time between finding your website and finding an actual social media icon like this. It just, you want to cut down that time as much as possible. So that would be my one nitpick with the Red Cross, is that they could probably stand to make those icons certainly bigger than what's right here. And I think that would improve things for them overall. And finally, we come to number 11, create an annual thank you video. And I think we showed that earlier. If I can find it, they do have a sort of an end of 2017 video. Let me see if I can find that again. Oh, here it is, 2017, a year in review. So I think they do that pretty well. Again, Red Cross is an organization, like I said earlier, that's very you-centric. They never lose sight of how valuable their volunteers and their blood donors are, and as well as the people that go to different parts of the world during disasters and help out. They never, ever lose sight of that. And their branding and their imaging reflects that whether you're on the main Red Cross's YouTube or you're on their local branches, such as the one in Minnesota here, or these other ones, um, North Central. I like how they communicate the constant need for blood. I mean, that's like a recurring drum beat that the Red Cross keeps hitting. They do that very well, and I think it's really a matter of life and death, really, when you get down to it. The more people that donate, the more available blood and blood parts are out there for people who need them. I mean, you never want to be in a situation where you're at a hospital and you're short of something that you need to survive, like blood, when in reality it's actually very plentiful. Just not everybody is aware of that. Certainly, it's something I think about myself. If I was ever in the hospital for an operation or some type of an emergency, I would love to think that there's plenty of blood or blood parts there that would be there for me in the event that I needed them myself. And so it's actually really important to me that the Red Cross communicates that. I think that's an important thing to do. And that basically wraps up our checklist of the 11 YouTube best practices for nonprofits. I just want to revisit really quickly and talk about, we've been talking about videos and branding and consistency and everything. And we discussed Instagram earlier a little bit, but I do just want to go down. I happen to be a very big fan of Instagram's design. It's, I guess, what you might call the infinity scroll at the bottom. It just keeps going and going. I actually don't actively use Instagram myself, but looking at how the Red Cross uses it, I think they use it pretty effectively. And again, they have a pretty good mix between videos like this one here and many of them are like maybe 10, 15, 20 seconds long. I'm not sure what the limit is on Instagram. I think they're not much longer than 30 seconds, I think, at the long end. They've got a lot of group shots. They have the informational, statistical type images here that are really cool. You could take something like that and put it on Facebook to communicate your support for the Red Cross and maybe inform other people as well. But I do actively, I also like images like this that show you all the different centers in different areas. But again, above all, it's very centered on the people, the volunteers, the donors that make everything possible at the Red Cross. So I think, and there's also some humorous ones as well. There's ones that are themed by different holidays and everything. But overall, it's very focused on individuals. I think that's very important, very vital for an organization like the Red Cross, and it's part of the reason why they've been as successful as they have. So that concludes our visual storytelling post. Again, I'm Dean Brooks. This is my blog for English 457, and this is the website for that particular class for week 5. This has been a really, really interesting webcast, screencast, or what have you. This is my first. I hope I've done a good job, but it's also been very informative for me to learn about the Red Cross and to study it in this particular manner. Thank you for listening.